To today's podcast. Today we have a special guest joining us, Mr. Mike Jepson. He's a seasoned professional with nearly 2 decades of experience navigating the dynamic landscapes of Arizona and California real estate markets. Mike brings a wealth of knowledge and insights, having spent the last 4 years as a broker, guiding clients and agents through this complicated real estate market of buying and selling homes. Get ready to rock it with his experience as he shares his journey, tips, and valuable advice in an ever thriving and ever changing real estate world. Mike, how you doing, buddy?
All right, I'm doing great. Thank you, Sean. Thank you so much for having me. I'm grateful to be here and share some time together today.
Did I exaggerate on any of those points in the intro?
Slightly. I'm just a regular guy. No, I mean, I think it covers it pretty good. Um, Many years experience. I'm currently a designated broker managing a little over 500 agents. So, we see a lot and have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we sure do. We'll jump right into it. So, regarding the current real estate market in the Palm Desert and Coachella Valley areas, specifically focusing on key statistics like, the percentage of list to sold, average days on market, median sales price, and any significant year over year changes. What are you guys seeing out there right now?
Well, great question. Great way to kick it off. As far as those key metrics for percent list price to sold price, we're averaging about 98%. So those sales prices are coming in pretty solid compared to the list price currently. This does vary slightly based on specifics such as exact location, market segment, things like that. Average days on market actually has ticked up. So year over year, we're up 7 days. So currently, the average days on market is 45 days, which, as I said, is up about 7 days, taking about a week longer to get your home sold at this point. Our median sales price has declined from May. So at the end of June, it was slightly lower, and that came in at 695,000. However, it is up just about 1% year to date. So we are up overall. 695,000 is our median sales price. So things are strong there. Touching on a couple of significant year over year changes. Well, we talked about days on market being up. So it's taking slightly longer to sell your home. Prices are slightly down month over month. And then the other factor is our inventory. So the trend on inventory has been an uptick. That's been ticking up for probably the last 12 months, maybe even 18 months. But what that's led us to are months of supply. And what that ratio tallies is kind of if no more listings came on the market today, how long would it take to sell off all of the inventory that's out there? As of July 1st, that is 4 months, 4 months of inventory, months of supply. Okay. That is up 1.1 month year over year. So what that tells us is that we're up 25% roughly on months of supply of homes. So we're swinging back towards a buyer's market. We're not quite there yet. The data suggests 6 months of supply would be a balanced market, not favoring buyers, not favoring sellers. At the 4 month mark, it would still be indicating a seller's market. However, with the inventory moving upward and interest rates, kind of staying where they are, let's call it, and we can talk more about that, we are seeing that months of supply tick up.
So I heard you say a couple things, and there's one thing that I heard earlier today, that kind of a balanced market. You were saying 6 months. I heard 4.7 months. It's not bad to have a 4 month supply. That it kind of balances that out. But what I also heard you say is that properties are coming on the market and they're selling at 98% of what they're being listed for. And so I think that's a really important statistic, because everybody's trying to get a smoking deal, or they think prices are way too high. The market's telling us that the properties that are out there for sale are being purchased at only a 2% or less discount. So anything you want to say about that?
Well, I would say that part of that comes, I think it's because sellers are wising up to the data, right? Because looking at that 98% ratio of the sold price to the list price, you know, they're having to list properly in order for that data to be true. Another thing that's not factored into that number would be any concessions that may be on the table,
Right.
possibly, towards the buyer's closing costs, buying their rate down, those type of things, which could impact that number as well. But overall, to kind of touch on that, answer your question, yes, homes are selling at pretty close to their asking price. It's just taking a little bit longer, and that asking price is a little bit lower than maybe it was in the past.
Yeah. Now, if you were talking directly to somebody who was interested in selling their property today, what piece of advice would you recommend, or what kind of a pro tip would you give them to list their property today?
So, my pro tip, my biggest piece of advice would be you have to focus. I'm going to use a car analogy here. You have to be focused looking out the windshield. We can't get stuck looking in the rear view mirror. And that comes up with agents because we're looking at comps. Everybody wants to look at the comps. Generally speaking, we're looking back 3 months to 6 months. Comps from 6 months ago, in my opinion, are not valid in this market, and I would be questioning comps from 3 months ago. The past, coming out of 2021, 2022, even into 2023, we're looking at, okay, if that my neighbor's house sold for $1 million, I should be at 1.1. Wrong. You should be at 900. Okay. So that's what I'm talking about, looking out the rear view mirror at what's coming down the line, not what happened in the past, because those numbers are probably not accurate. And something I've been encouraging agents to coach and set the expectation with their client is that if you actually want to sell, you have to price it accordingly. There are other factors, absolutely. Staging, professional photography, virtual tours, all kinds of marketing tools that you can utilize that definitely help. But that number one marketing tool is the price.
Well, and what's interesting too is that number, that 98% number, is of the properties that have closed. I'm guessing that number doesn't include properties that never sold, that were priced too high, or that
Yep.
weren't staged, or that weren't rehabbed in a good condition. So,
Yep.
the numbers can be skewed depending on, the data that's in there, right?
Yep, and I would add to that, that's same for days on market, because generally speaking, those days on market, 45 days on market, is of closed listings.
Right.
So properties that sit on the market and expire or cancel or never end up selling, you're not seeing that in that data. So,
So,
the homes that are priced well tend to sell quickly, and then the data reflects accordingly.
and so let's say the property's been listed, multiple times. It's either come off with an agent, or expired, or maybe it was December and the holidays and they just put it on hold. Does that reset the count for what we're talking about?
To my understanding, it would, yeah. So you're not going to be looking at all of the data that, okay, this property was actually on the market for 700 days before it sold at full price, right?
Right.
You're looking at it, it was on the market for 20 days, let's say, and sold at full price. But all of these data indicators, really reflect that the market is overall healthy. We're still technically in a buyer's market, as we talked about. However, I feel, it is shifting, kind of transitioning daily as more inventory comes on the market and interest rates kind of remain high. Those are the two factors I think having the greatest impact at this time.
Great. For any buyers out there that are on the fence or waiting for rates to come down or waiting for the prices to come down by 20%, what kind of advice would you give a buyer in today's ever-changing market? And we know we're going into some fun things here in
Mhm.
the next month or two, but we won't get into all that. What kind of advice would you give a buyer who either is a first-time buyer or looking to move up?
Well, I believe this to be true, for any buyer thinking about buying a home. Well, a couple pieces of advice. Looking at the overall market, I believe so what's happening overall is that price appreciation is slowing. Okay, but consider the comment I just made. Price appreciation is slowing. Okay, that means that prices are still appreciating. So if you take that over the course of the next 5 years, 10 years plus, are you better off to wait? Because by waiting, you're guaranteed to pay more, right? That's how I look at that data. So if homes appreciate only 3% next year instead of 5%, right? Do that math on $1 million property. Okay. That's where my logic tells me you're better off to buy now and deal with your rate later. There's many terms and kind of, little sayings that go along with that we've heard in the industry. What are the date the rate and, marry the house, or, these type of things. But where I'm going is consider the fact that by waiting, you will pay more, although it could be at a lower interest rate. It could be. We don't know
Yeah.
what's going to happen. Okay.
I mean,
Well,
what do you think? Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
What do you think is going to happen when rates do drop? Do you think prices are going to go down or go up?
When rates drop, I believe prices will definitely go up. Um, Supply and demand, but I think you have demand remaining relatively strong, even with a large percentage of potential buyers sitting on the sidelines. It's
Yeah.
not just interest rates. I believe right now, I mean, it's not just my belief. There is tons of fear, uncertainty, doubt in the marketplace, in the overall economy. We're facing down a presidential election. There's just many things, headwinds happening within the real estate industry. Just many things that are factoring in, creating this environment that is still really good. It's a really good market with all of this happening as rates drop, when rates drop. The good news is there is a little bit more inventory right now, but we're still below historical norms. In our market, in my market, in the Coachella Valley, Palm Springs, California area, we're about 1,000 listings under our normal inventory. So,
Yeah.
we're approaching that. We're adding inventory every day, literally, so we're approaching that number again. But a slight drop in rates could trigger, massive buying pressure, which would then, cause prices to come back up. The good news is they haven't really come down. Like I told you, that it dipped slightly in June, that median price, but really what's happening is the overall rate of appreciation is slowing down, which is a normal market cycle.
Yeah, that's amazing information. Um, so really what you're saying is as soon as consumer confidence comes back, we're going to have a lot more competition with the buyers. And although we might have quite, if quite a lot of listings, a high number of months of inventory, we don't really have that much property on the market.
Correct.
So
There's not a built up amount of inventory that can sustain a large amount of buying pressure that could happen quickly in a lower rate environment.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. So the good news is, I mean, hey, listing agents, sellers, we need more inventory in the meantime, which also provides more options for buyers.
Right. Now, if, speaking of more inventory, if somebody's watching this and they're looking to sell their property, what would you say are the top three factors or the top three things they can do when preparing their house for sale?
Well, the top three things. So there are so many things as a seller that you can do to set your property, apart from others. But I would say, the first thing is to ensure that your property is in pristine show ready condition. So if there's some flooring you need to get changed, or there's old carpet, some simple things that you can take care of, painting, flooring, staging, it's an overall deep cleaning. These are kind of the most basic things, but having your home in a show ready condition. The bottom line, I've been saying this for years. There's only one chance. We only have one chance to make that first impression to the buyer. And that starts with your photos. It starts with your marketing. It starts online. However, when they walk in, there is a lot. Photos can hide a lot, good or bad, right?
Right.
It may, Photoshop is an amazing tool. And, the fact is, you have to have it smelling nice, looking nice, and ready to go so a buyer can visualize themselves living in the home. The second thing, which should be the first thing, but it's pricing the property correctly. Um, you want to be a statistic ultimately when your home sells, and you want to be in that 98, 99 to 100+% of the list price. That's the ratio you want, the highest possible to that list price, not the highest possible days on market, right? That the history has shown us the longer you're on market, the less money you'll ultimately get, not
Yeah.
more. So keep that in mind. Pricing, as I mentioned before, price your property looking through the windshield, okay? Not looking in the rearview mirror, or you're going to be camping out on the market in a lot of cases. The last of the three things, I'd say, just make sure that you are working with a seasoned, experienced listing agent who's been through the process before. Nobody's been through today's exact market before. There's some changes coming up that none of us have been through before. We're all in the same boat, so to speak. Um, we're standing on a corner at this fork in the road, but together we're going to work together and get through this. We're going to get through these changes and get on down on the path. But working with an agent who's been through the listing, marketing, and escrow process many times before can make all the difference in the process.
Awesome. And then what kind of support are you currently giving your agents to stay ahead of some of these market changes and trends? And how can agents, get better information to serve their clients in today's market?
Well, so something I've said, and I'll scream it from the mountaintops: agents, you have to show up. Not just for your clients, but you need to show up for yourself. You need to show up for your business. And what showing up means this day and age, it is July 9th of 2024 today. There is a lot of virtual options. There is YouTube. If you're not familiar, you don't need to be on there. You need to be on there using it. Anything that you want to learn about, you can find out. And what I mean about showing up for yourself and your business is learning. Learning these skills at HomeSmart, where I work. We provide tons of opportunities, trainings, virtual trainings, ongoing opportunities for you to learn. This is both up to date stuff and basic sales training. But to me, what's most important is staying up to date on cutting edge marketing tools, options. Having basic photos on a basic business card is not going to get the job done in today's kind of dynamic and broad online marketing environment, right? We're needing to expose the property to the broadest audience we can in order to cultivate the right buyer. And so all of that, goes back to keeping agents up to date. And if you're not with a brokerage providing those type of tools, I recommend that you get somewhere that you'll get the training, tools, and all of the guidance and support that you will need to be successful, to continue your success into what I'm calling the new world of real estate. And, no matter what market we come into.
So there's a lot to learn, even though if you've been in the business for, 5, 10, 15 years, there's always something new coming out. What do you see as some of the upcoming challenges and opportunities in the next 6 months in your market?
Well, again, I would first focus on the opportunities. I think that there is a ton of opportunity for agents, those agents who are showing up, that are putting in the work. Um, that's a vague comment. They put in the work. Well, it's got to be focused effort, dedicated work towards a goal. Really, just showing up at your office and twiddling your thumbs isn't going to get the job done. You need to be getting proper training, learning, and gaining the knowledge that you will need in order to, what I'm terming, gaining market share. There is an opportunity in front of you and in front of us as practitioners to gain market share during tumultuous times, during changes and transitions. Is the time to build your brand and establish yourself. And I feel in the next 6 to 12 months, there's never been a better time to do that. And now is the time to be establishing yourself.
Yeah, I think during 2020 and 2021, there are a lot of people getting in the business. But I mean, if you weren't already positioned right, I mean, most of those people are getting out of the business because it's just been a huge grind. You're out of position, and it's uh, everybody who's still in the market, is grinding it out for the next time. And so it's not about the big peaks. It's about the valleys and the peaks and being consistent over a long period of time and developing those relationships, right?
Yep. Developing the relationships as deep as you can, in addition to increasing your skills, no matter if you've been in the business 1 day or 30 plus years. And,
Awesome.
again, the environment we're heading into, the playing field is being leveled for the most part. And those who continue to increase their skill sets will gain market share. And those who don't will, probably die a slow death, meaning that, they will ultimately phase out of market share until there's just nothing left for them. And
Yeah.
we don't want that to be anyone listening to this call or anyone, in the business currently.
Yeah.
The second part of your question about challenges, I feel that, I mentioned the fear, uncertainty, and doubt that just overall related to the economy, related to just so many things, the presidential election that's coming up. I believe, some of these items should be alleviated towards the end of the year. It's not a political conversation, but just saying, hey, once some of these things settle out, we'll see where interest rates are at that point. I believe inventory will keep ticking up as we head towards the end of the year, and then coming into 2025. I think some of the concerns we have now should be alleviated a little bit, and demand will remain strong. Hopefully the rates dip down, and those prices and, that demand will increase even more.
Awesome. Now give me 30 to 60 seconds on what you're seeing lenders can do better to support their agents and make sure their deals are closing.
Perfect. So Lenders, I think lenders such an integral part of the marketplace and the escrow process, getting buyers not only started in the process of buying a home by solidifying and securing a quality high level pre-approval from someone such as yourself, but be working together. So a couple of things I believe in that is required by lenders is transparency, high levels of transparency and explanation, setting proper expectations, both on the financial side and the process driven side of what the buyer should expect through the process. And then, just top level communication both with the client obviously and with the agents involved, the buyer's agent obviously, but the listing agent for the most part there, because I think a lot of issues I see that come up in the process is related to contingency removal. In my state, that's can be a kind of gray area type item, and we're relying on the lender to give us the green light when maybe there's some things, there's all this pressure coming. And transparent, open communication, I think, is everything. And then as well, setting those expectations with everyone involved so that, we're not missing the mark. Because if we know anything, all the deals we've been through and all of the things we've handled, we think things are going to go one way, but we can never guarantee that. And so I think it all comes down to communication, transparency, and expectations are my top three.
Love that, 100%. Couldn't have said it any better myself. Lastly, and we'll end off on this question. If you could put anything on a billboard, whether it's Mike Jepson, the man, the myth, the legend, Mike, or you as a broker, what message or what would you put on your billboard?
So that's a great question, and I didn't prepare for this. Obviously, you put me on the spot, but I've been getting back into golf recently, and I saw this thing, and I took it because I believe it applies so greatly to so many things. But it's this: is that you have to know the distance you hit all of your clubs. All right, and it sounds silly, but if you think about that, you have to know the distance that you hit all of your clubs. You're going into battle knowing what you can and can't do. And so that's what I really like about that particular quote and kind of applying that to life. I'm a visualizer. I like to visualize the next day, the week ahead, etc. Literally, if I'm giving a presentation, I walk through it in my mind, walking into the room, walking up to the podium, looking at the crowd, these type of things. And so knowing how far you hit each of your clubs just kind of increases your chances of success. And again, I'm using that as an analogy towards anything that you're looking at doing in your life by preparing, knowing what you're doing, visualizing, planning, etc. Sprinkle in a little dreaming into that. And that's how we're going to get on to our goals and finding the highest levels of success.
I love that, Mike. I'm glad I did put you on the spot. That was totally real. And you hit the nail on the head. I mean, if you're not doing the reps, you don't know how you're going to handle things. So, manifest what you want, think about how it's going to go, and know the distance you hit every one of your clubs. So I know you're a busy guy. We'll give you the rest of your day back. Do you want to tell them how they can find you, or you have any contact info?
Oh, sure. And I don't know where Sean's posted this, but we'll probably can get my contact in the in the comments. But Mike Jepson, give you my email. It's mjepson@hsmove.com. That's MJEPPSON at hsmove.com. But I appreciate it, Sean. I think that was a great talk, and appreciate you so much. And we will hopefully see each other very soon.
Sounds good, buddy. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.